Hello, this is RuneScape, the worst, best RPG ever. And these are three dudes. Brothers. They created mud. No, not that kind. Devious mud. Their first project, which led to more projects that were extinguished, so they could form jagex. It's 2000, and the only thing that ended is Devious Mud, being renamed to RuneScape. Oh, it's actually RuneScape. Their first had to be Lumbridge, sheep, Hans, Andrew's mother cooking bacon, moderators, and quests. With humble beginnings, RuneScape launched on January 4th, 2001. All-world PvP, banks that only held coins, and 19 different skills.
Andrew Gower here to give you a briefing on skills. Highlighted in red are RuneScape's combat skills. Train any one of these skills to increase your combat level and become stronger. Thieving would come later, influence was about to die, and tailoring would never be released. Pray good and pray evil would merge into one. And so would good magic and evil magic. You could make potions, mine rocks, smith armor, craft jewelry, make fires, cut wood, and cook food.
In the ancient days of RuneScape, completing quests would give you experience in your influence skill. But that was kinda stupid and lame, so jagex decided to get rid of the influence skill and replace it with the quest point system. Hey, have you been feeling lonely? Just kidding, I don't care. But jagex did, so now you can make friends and enemies with the brand new friends list. Yo, isn't the map kinda small? That's better. Hold on, we need an island and fish. And a way to catch those fish on the island. The Gowers soon realized the old PKing system was whack. Thus, the wilderness came to be in August 13th, 2001. Oh yeah, and banks can now hold items, not just coins.
Oh, would you look at that?
It's the first 99. September saw the release of Dragon Slayer 1 and Rune items. Uh-oh, now it's getting competitive. The high scores just came out, and the sweat is on. The 2001 Christmas event introduced Christmas crackers, birthing party hats. At the time, they were very common, but 22 years later, they're worth thousands of dollars.
Wait, says Gower Andrew. RuneScape has over 1 million registered players, but we're still losing money.
Guess we're going to have to shut RuneScape down for good, boys.
Wait brother, I've an idea.
Membership officially released in late February of 2002 at $5 a month. This decision would single-handedly save jagex and ruin millions of lives in the years to come. Jagex can now afford to be a real company. New servers, more staff, office space, and a CEO. Membership brought us brand new quests such as the Hero's Quest and Lost City, which introduced the first ever dragon items, the Dragon Battle Axe and the Dragon Longsword. And throughout the rest of this year, jagex would slowly start expanding the map. Many of the first ever 99s were achieved this year, and new skills were on the way. September saw the release of RuneScape's very first boss, the King Black Dragon. An island of tutorials just released, and every account that is made now starts here. This island was meant to give fresh scapers an introduction to the mechanics of RuneScape, so they're not so lost when they create a fresh account. Holiday events are back, and along with them come 5 new rare holiday items. The Easter egg in April, the 3 Halloween masks, red, blue, and green, in October, and the Santa hat in December. It's the end of 2002, and a brand new skill was just added, and carpentry was removed. You could not yet train carpentry, but it was the blueprint of a future skill. This wouldn't be a RuneScape video if I didn't mention bots. Bots are a plague to RuneScape, and they have been around since the beginning of time. The first method to combat these bots was the fatigue system, which required you to sleep in a bed after a certain amount of actions in-game. But people didn't like beds, so jagex made sleeping bags. You can now sleep anywhere you want. People liked it. And it was actually better than combating bots than the beds were. Or was it? People were getting smart and devious. Mass scripting clients like AutoRune were becoming popular and easy to use, and bugs like item spawning and duping were slowly being uncovered and abused. Jagex would always act fast in these situations, but the bot problem would only get worse. It's been nearly 3 years since the release of RuneScape. Jagex is running smoothly, and RuneScape has almost 5 million registered players. But things were about to change forever. Despite the success RuneScape has seen so far, a complete overhaul was coming to the game. RuneScape will never be the same again, and a new era is about to begin. On December 1st, 2003, the official RuneScape 2 beta was released to paying members. With so many players devoted to the original version of the game, Jagex decided to keep both versions of the game up, renaming the original RuneScape version to RuneScape Classic and the new RuneScape version, RuneScape 2. On March 3rd of 2004, Jagex made the final account file transfer from RuneScape Classic to RuneScape 2, and only 2 weeks later, Jagex opened up the RuneScape 2 beta to free players as well. Most people favored this new RuneScape version. The mechanics of the game changed so much that the players actually enjoyed this new version of RuneScape and found it a lot easier to play than RuneScape Classic. Not only are the graphics so much better in RuneScape 2, but people appreciated the quality of life changes on things like combat. In the previous version of RuneScape, you were locked in combat for the first 3 attacks. Now you can eat and walk around whenever you want. Monsters now gave a lot more experience. You can note and unnote items at a bank. The equipment status tab was added, and you no longer have to equip items in your inventory. You can do that here. The max combat level is now 126, and they even got rid of the fatigue system, replacing it with random events. Hey Jagex, I want to be able to craft runes. No, don't say that, shut the fuck up. And on the 29th of March, one of the most hated skills in RuneScape, rune crafting, was just added. This was the same day RuneScape 2 became the official RuneScape version. Around this time, Jagex added the duel arena. Here you can safely fight other players one-on-one, and you have the option to stake them for items or coins. You can now identify official Jagex moderators by the gold crown next to their name in the chat box. And player moderators would have a white crown. In July of 2004, Jagex would do a series of hidden updates that would polish the graphics and make the game look 73 times better. Jagex would soon triple their player base. By making a deal with Miniclip, RuneScape would now be advertised on their website, introducing thousands of new players around the world to the game. There's a new big scary boss bug, the Calphite Queen. She was pretty cool. She dropped a dragon chain body, which people were paying so much for. Everyone loved it, and it's now one of RuneScape's most iconic armor pieces. Neckbeard Redditors are seething as Jagex makes the game just a little bit easier for everyone. Previously, you could only interact with items via 1, 5, 10, or all, and now you can choose with a brand new X option. The last big update for 2004 was Castle Wars, RuneScape's most popular minigame, and one of the most nostalgic places in RuneScape. It's a new year and a new skill just released. On the 26th of January 2005, Slayer was added to the game. A bunch of new monsters, locations, and items were added along with this skill. You can now find a Slayer Master around RuneScape, and they will assign you tasks of random monsters throughout the map. Only 1 week later, an expansion to the Elf questline, Roving Elves, was added, bringing the new best-in-slot shield and bow, the Crystal Shield and the Crystal Bow. Soon after, Lumbridge and Draenor received some slight graphical updates to improve the new player experience. And in April of this year, the desert received a much-needed expansion. With the Desert Treasure quest came the brand new Ancient Magic Spellbook, introducing new spells like Ice Barrage and Ice Burst, which completely captivated the RuneScape community. especially the player-killing community. In May of 2005, a new minigame boss was added to RuneScape, Barrows, which introduced the new Best in Slot armor. Before this update, the Best in Slot armor for melee was Rune and Dragon armor, for ranged it was Black Dragon Hide, and for magic it was Mystic Robes. This new Barrows armor would require 70 defense to wear, and it was highly regarded amongst the RuneScape community at the time. In July 9th of 2005, RuneScape's most famous player would be the first player to reach 99 Slayer, as well as the first player to have the maximum total level of 1980. But only 2 days later, the farming skill was released. You can now plant crops, and to celebrate, jagex changed the login screen for the very first time. August was a sad month for RuneScape Classic enjoyers, as the servers closed officially. Bank pins greatly improved account security. More graphical updates came to the OG regions of RuneScape. The RuneScape website now had a new look, and in October, RuneScape's hardest boss was released. The Tazar Fight Caves were the home to Jad at level 702. 63 waves of monsters that progressively get harder and harder. The last wave being Jad. Successfully defeating Jad gave you the Fire Cape, the new Best in Slot cape. This was a major achievement for any scaper at the time, and still proves to be a challenge today. The Halloween and Christmas events were dope this year, and RuneScape is now cemented in gaming history forever. 2006. This is the year most people regard as the best year of RuneScape. Starting off strong with the first player to reach the maximum experience you can get in a skill, with 200 million experience in fletching. At the end of January this year, our boy Zazima was the first ever player to reach 500 million total experience across all skills. With the release of the Chaos Elemental boss deep in the wilderness, this is the first time players would have to worry about the boss killing them and another player killing them. Along with this boss also came another dragon item, the Dragon Two-Handed Sword. Someone call an Exterminator, the giant mole boss, was just released in March of this year underneath Falador. Recipe for Disaster was RuneScape's 100th quest, and with it came the infamous Barrows gloves, the best in slot gloves by far. RuneScape was booming. So many people loved the game, and the community was growing bigger and stronger by the day. Millions of people made meaningful connections through this game, and many legends were born. One such legend maxed his account around this time, the Old Knight. Since 2002, he was fighting it out on the leaderboards with top players like Zezima. He gained a lot of fame throughout the game due to his skill and knowledge of RuneScape. Player accounts regard him as always being down to talk and being a super awesome person. Sadly, only a few days after maxing his RuneScape account, he passed away due to colon cancer. A statue engraved stands strong in the wilderness as a tribute to the Old Knight. On April 18th, 2006, the minigame Pest Control was released, and with it came Void Armor. Players really liked this armor due to its unique set effect bonus while worn, and it offered a great alternative to the current best in slot armor in-game. RuneScape would break records this month with over 197,000 players on at one time.
Andrew Gower back again to narrate the biggest disaster in RuneScape history. It is no coincidence that this occurred on June 6, 2006. Only a week after the release of RuneScape's newest skill, Construction, a player by the name of Cursed achieved 99. The construction skill introduced player-owned houses. You could pimp these houses out to your liking. The more money you had, the better your house and the quicker you could train. Cursed made billions of GP staking in the duel arena, and held the biggest party at his player-owned house to celebrate 99. It was all fun and games. Until Cursed, you would kick everybody from his house due to the unbearable lag from the massive amount of players at the party. This would cause the most infamous bug RuneScape has ever seen. Players that were participating in combat-related activities in the house when kicked had the ability to attack other players anywhere in the game. Nobody was safe. Many players abused this bug, but one legend would stand out above the rest. Juriel 321. Death, Destruction, and Ice Barrage. Juriel would commit mass genocide in Falador, becoming known forever as the Falador Massacre.
5 days later, after the Falador Massacre, Zezima would lose his rank 1 spot to Nova Life. On the next day, a guild for warriors was released, introducing defenders to the game. If you have ever played RuneScape, there is a 102% chance you have been scammed or have at least tried to be scammed by some little imp. But jagex always has a solution. On the 4th of July of this year, the Stronghold of Security was released. More graphical updates, a home teleport spell that you can use anywhere for free. And you can now show off your hard-earned 99s with the brand new skill capes. With the Halloween event this year, you can now look like a skeleton and wear a pumpkin on your head. The last big update for this year was a new skill, being Hunter. At the end of 2007, jagex would make one of the worst decisions for RuneScape ever. But this year wasn't complete garbage. RuneScape YouTubers would blow up this year. There was even a 14-hour riot because a very popular RuneScape YouTuber, Elvmage, would be muted at this time. He was a PK legend. In January, the Barbarian Assault minigame was added, introducing new items like the Fighter Torso. Next month, the coolest helmet in the game was added, along with a brand new quest and some new islands. Ignorant scapers kept getting lured into the wilderness, so there's now a wilderness ditch, so players actually know when they're going into dangerous territory. jagex would release multiple articles this year on bots and real-world trading. This was the biggest obstacle jagex would ever face with RuneScape. They've stated that they would ban over 8,000 accounts weekly for breaking these rules. This problem would only snowball and would be the cause for what comes at the end of this year. Another historical riot would occur this year with the biggest graphical update to a city RuneScape has ever seen. jagex experienced its first ever server blackout because of the riots. The hero we don't deserve reached 1 billion experience. He was the first player to do this. In June, RuneScape's game engine was updated and an entirely new game frame was implemented. Then Clan Chat was released and jagex would save a copy of this 2007 version of RuneScape and delete every other previous version. This would anger the RuneScape gods. So on August 28th, jagex released the God Wars dungeon so we could shut them up and acquire some awesome new armor and weapons. Runecrafting got a new altar, and jagex got a new CEO. This changed again, and wait. Remember when you had to stand around typing for hours to get the items you want? Well, you no longer have to do that. In November of 2007, jagex released a very controversial update, the Grand Exchange. December of this year was the turning point. Bots made up over 30% of the player base, and the real-world trading problem only got worse. Sweaty nerds, gold farmers, would start stealing players' credit card info. This caused serious problems for jagex with banks, with the company almost being banned from using credit cards, which would have killed the game forever. With no other options left, on December 12, 2007, jagex announced a trade limit that would begin at the beginning of the next year. This announcement also brought a massive wilderness update, adding Bounty Hunter, Clan Wars, and the Wildy Volcano. jagex did not take these changes lightly, but without them, RuneScape may not have been around today. It's January 2nd, 2008. Now there's a limit to how much you can trade and stake.
It's not that bad, man. You can still enjoy the game.
Wait, why does it smell like dookie? Oh, it's a new skill. Oh, summoning. Wait, you can summon stuff. Oh, wait, and the game looks different now. Wait, and the combat, max combat is 138 now? Oh no. No. Zezima, don't leave. No. The game, you're not competing on the high scores? The game's too easy now? Oh, okay. Video's over. Wait, oh, what's that? Fun Orb? Arcanist? Okay, that's actually kind of cool. New minigame Fist of Guthix was mid, but Stealing Creations was awesome. Bye Tutorial Island. Oh, hello again. Rest in peace to Brother Fatrekt. Jagex tried to make up for removing free trade, so they put the lending system in. New big boss battle and super expensive shields. PvP worlds were added, and the hardest quest so far, while Guthix sleeps, was added, introducing the first ever Dragon Claws and the new Dragon Plate Body. This is the first year Jagex would face a declining player base. Something about Jagex was off. 15 updates this year were about payment options. It's like Jagex was focused on money and subscriptions this year and didn't focus very much on their player base, and people could tell. But maybe it'll get better next year? Hey, it actually did. After a short term, the new Jagex CEO would resign, making way for new CEO, Mark Gerhard. Over the last year, RuneScape was out of touch with itself, and Mark would slowly try and patch things up with its player base. Social media presence and numerous Q&As throughout the year would be a great first step for Jagex. February would see the release of the Soul Wars minigame. Some wilderness-only PvP worlds are now live. Things get easier with the rest feature and musicians across the map, both granting much faster run energy restoration. Next month, the Living Rock Caverns were added, becoming the best experience in hour and a new social-based skilling method. You can now change your display name, make an avatar on the forums, and the Adventurer's Log would display your recent achievements. Good news for RuneScape Classic enjoyers, the servers reopened to members only for a short amount of time. 2009 wasn't the most eventful year, but in 2010, we start the year off with every player in RuneScape getting goofy. Like everyone, all at once, at the same time. This animation ended with your character facing north. Players speculated what this could mean. Why were they facing north? What kind of new updates would this bring? What is this strange power? Oh, it's Daemonheim. While you couldn't yet access the city, it gave explanation to this strange power event early on in the year. Click here to play. Is that a lobby? After logging in? Alright. Hit points? Never heard of her. Constitution? That's more like it. Wait, and make it times 10. And every hit splat while you're at it. Nice. Oh look, it's another riot. Give everyone double XP for the weekend to make it better. No way! A RuneScape theme park? No! 11 days later came the long-awaited Dungeoneering skill. It was the first stat with a max level of 120, which of course had very mixed reactions amongst the community. The first server rollback came after an experience bug was discovered in the dungeons on April 14th. And next month we see the first ever RuneScape client. No longer was RuneScape browser locked. If you played during this time, you'll remember the Climbing Boot update. On the 12th of June 2010, climbing boots went from a couple hundred GP to 70,000 coins overnight. People who had thousands of boots became billionaires. And this update was never fixed and barely addressed by Jagex. Uh-oh, more riots. Soon after, Ancient Effigies were released, which gave players massive amounts of XP. Easyscape. This year was the first ever in-person RuneScape event hosted by Jagex, RuneFest. It was a massive success and would continue throughout the years to come. Towards the end of this year, jagex released a poll on whether or not players wanted the free trade and wilderness to return.
I suddenly realized whilst I wasn't in charge, all of the sudden, what I had to say didn't matter so much. People wouldn't listen to me anymore, but that was the point. I just wanted to be able to advise and help nurture the game I had made, without having to be so responsible. But you cannot have authority without responsibility. And I made a mistake, quite frankly. It reached the point where I was no longer doing anything for jagex, and the game my brothers and I made and loved slowly faded from my life. I guess it's time to sell my shares. Hold down the game for me while I'm gone, boys. Andrew Gower, out.
The 10-year RuneScape anniversary is upon us, and jagex would give $10,000 each month to some lucky scapers. The first ever level 1000 boss launched on January 10th, being Nex. Free trades back, Wilde's back, tell a friend. Many people had quit because of this in 2008, and 3 years later, the game has a completely different feeling. Completionist capes would be released in April 2011, unlocking a whole new realm of sweaty competition for scapers. The launch of the loyalty program in June was a sign of what's to come. Clan Citadels are a thing now, and in August you could refer a friend to RuneScape and receive 10% bonus experience for a week. You can now control the camera with your mouse wheel. Fun RuneScape fact. This year, bots made up 35% of the player base, and at the end of October was the legendary Bot Nuke Day. 1/3 of RuneScape players would vanish overnight. More and more graphical reworks, and the tool belt and money pouch were released, freeing up inventory space for players. Brace yourselves, it's 2012, the year RuneScape changed forever. Many major graphical changes would occur this year in preparation for RuneScape's most significant update. Many cities, all the armor, bosses were changed. On February 28th, 2012, the School of Fortune was released. In March, teleportation lodestones were added all across the map.
Hey jagex, I want to be able to buy spins!
Get your mom's credit cards out. You can now officially buy spins on the School of Fortune, beginning the era of microtransactions in RuneScape. Many players and even jagex employees were very unhappy. Riots ensued, and the second Gower brother, Paul, would officially resign, as he promised there would never be microtransactions in the game. Runecrafting changed forever when RuneSpan was released, greatly increasing experience rates for one of the slowest skills in RuneScape. More Easyscape updates with bonfires for firemaking in June, and RuneScape's combat was about to evolve. In May, the evolution of combat beta was announced, and a few weeks later, the Queen Black Dragon was released at level 900. Bigger and better prizes for the School of Fortune would kindle children's gambling addictions. A new rare item from the Squeal, being the Fish Mask, was added, and on June 26th, the evolution of Combat Beta launched to 50,000 paying members. More School of Fortune updates, angry players, and on July 17th, the Solomon's General Store and Rune Coins released, furthering the microtransaction aspect of the game. Botany Bay, a place where players could go to humiliate cheaters who were caught, was added. And finally, on November 20th, 2012, the most historic, game-changing update RuneScape has ever and will ever see, launched across all servers, forever splitting the community, and the game would never be the same again.
Old RuneScape! This is RuneScape!
In early 2013, a YouTuber named SoRect started a petition asking jagex to bring back an older version of RuneScape. 45,000 people signed it, and in February, jagex released a poll on the official RuneScape website asking the community if they should add an old school RuneScape version. The more players that signed this poll, the better. The poll ended up with 449,000 votes, and it's now official. An older version of RuneScape with a small dev team and weekly updates would now be in the game.
We felt that we had to do it because we had this huge community that was still enjoying the game, but we knew that there was this old, lapsed audience that had left that we could win back if we were able to provide them with an old version.
So I went to one of my favourite people, I said, Phil, can we get an old school backup, 07 backup?
Eventually, I found in the back of a safe a tape that turned out to be August 2007, which was precisely when we wanted to go back to.
And shortly after the poll closed on February 22nd, 2013, old school RuneScape servers were officially released. A fresh high scores rife with competition and thousands getting their nostalgia fix. In OSRS, the first unique update to the game being Nightmare Zone released on September 5th. Later this month, membership bonds came out. You can now essentially buy gold with real life money with no worries of being banned. Microtransaction? People loved bonds, and it caused real world trading to drop by 61%. Jebrim maxed the first old school RuneScape account in October. In RuneScape 3, the World Wakes quest marked the beginning of a new era in RuneScape, the 6th Age. And in March, the legend Suomi was the first to get 200 million experience in every single skill. RuneScape 3 was now officially called RuneScape 3, and the music in RuneScape 3 saw a complete overhaul. And another new skill, divination. Sadly, at the end of the year, Mod MMG was forced to resign as CEO. He didn't approve of all the microtransaction updates coming to RuneScape 3, tried to fight them, but was voted out by the board of directors. It's 2014 now, and old school RuneScape got these cool new orbs next to the minimap, a new Slayer cave, and quick prayers. There was a wilderness rejuvenation update which brought tons of new bosses and monsters, and 2 new Slayer bosses were added, the Smoke Devil and the Kraken boss. And the Corporal Beast was finally added to old school RuneScape, along with Spirit Shields. The mining skill got slightly less horrible with the Motherlode Mine update. Oh, and I can't forget the bank tabs. Players can now try old school RuneScape for free. Clan Wars was moved here. You can now slay bosses and have their children follow you forever. And poll booths let jagex know what the players liked, only adding updates with 75% yes votes. Over in RuneScape 3, the Squeal of Fortune changed to Treasure Hunter. Master skill capes for people with a virtual level of 120 were added, portable skilling stations, and Drum Gun would pass Suomi on the high scores. In July, Legacy Mode came to RuneScape 3, giving players the option to revert to the old combat style. And a new city, Prifddinas, came to RuneScape 3 officially. Oh, by the way, there's a new way for players to play RuneScape, with the new Iron Man and Ultimate Iron Man game modes officially in the game. Shout out to nostalgic YouTuber Chris Archie, who is now Mod Archie. In 2015, old school RuneScape got the Money Snake boss. There's a new red defender for people with 60 defense. Due to the success of old school RuneScape, free to play is now permanent. Old school RuneScape is now not as old school with the release of the Grand Exchange on February 26th of this year. Achievement diaries are a thing, and the best update ever, you can now press keys for the chat dialog box. You can now switch worlds with this interface. You can resize your screen, money stack tokens, and you can peek in boss rooms to see if any little rats are in there trying to kill your boss. You can customize your F keys in old school RuneScape, and when you unlock every track in the game, you get this cool new 99 music cape. Merching on the Grand Exchange got easier. On August 14th, Link's Titan officially got rank 1 on old school RuneScape. A new Hellhound boss, Cerberus, was added to the game, as well as Abyssal Sire, both requiring very high Slayer levels. The Max Cape was added to the old school RuneScape servers for the sweaty nerds with every 99 skill. Worlds with increased experience and all-world PvP were added, the Deadman worlds. Skilling pets came to old school RuneScape, and skill capes now had special perks which were extremely useful. Over in RuneScape 3, the 200th quest, the Dimensions of Disaster, was released. RuneScape 3 also got the very first raids. You can play solo or with friends in a dungeon, fighting very high level monsters and potentially obtaining some very awesome armor and weapons. On September 16th, the Darkscape game mode came to RuneScape 3, which was similar to the Deadman mode in old school RuneScape. However, Darkscape would only last a few months before the popularity died out. At the end of this year, old school RuneScape officially had more players than RuneScape 3. Okay, wow, what a good year. Now it is 2016, and to start off, in old school RuneScape, a brand new continent came called Zaya. Zaya. A bunch of new quests and items, an unfortunate system, the favor system, which nobody likes. In March came seasonal Deadman worlds along with Deadman tournaments. The first one had a $10,000 prize. Placeholders came to old school RuneScape banks, and in May, the Monkey Madness 2 quest released. Throwback to Falador Massacre. The Catacombs of Kourend was a brand new dungeon filled with monsters underneath Zaya. Believe it or not, a Battle Royale style minigame came to RuneScape, the Last Man Standing game. Construction got a much needed update, and now it is very useful for all players. And the Wintertop boss came to old school RuneScape, a new skilling boss which increased the firemaking skill experience rates. The first F2P boss, Obor, came to RuneScape in October. At the end of this year, you can now play an Iron Man with 1 life in both RuneScape and old school RuneScape, and Zaya saw a much needed graphical overhaul. Over in RuneScape 3, a new skill being Invention was released on January 25th, 2016, as well as a brand new land expansion, the Eastern Lands, a much awaited land expansion for the game. And skilling pets finally came to RuneScape 3 this year. Unfortunately, the last founder of jagex, Ian Gower, left jagex officially this year. 2017, Cox. The first raids came to old school RuneScape finally this year. With Cox was the first 1000 combat boss in old school RuneScape, being Ulm, and the infamous Twisted Bow came to the game. In February, Silver Jewelry came to old school RuneScape, and you can now shift-click drop items. Huge update. You can now access the world map via the orb next to your minimap in-game. Previously, you had to go online to look at a map. And in June, the biggest, baddest boss ever came to RuneScape old school, the Inferno. And guess who was the first one to achieve the brand new Infernal Cape? This guy, Wooks. What a guy. Amazing guy. Everyone clap. In September, the Fossil Island came to old school RuneScape. King of the Skill competitions were released. And Grotesque Guardians, a brand new boss, came to old school RuneScape. Oh, and I can't forget about the Revenant Caves in the wilderness. In RuneScape 3, the Menophos area was added. There's a new jagex logo, and the Mod Jed scandal began. Oh my, would you look at the time? It's 2018. The beginning of this year in old school RuneScape saw the release of the second part to the first ever RuneScape quest, being Dragon Slayer 2. Super popular quest with a brand new boss and an upgrade to the Ava's Assembler. Free players got PvP worlds and their second ever boss, Briofita. In June, the second raids came to old school RuneScape, the Theater of Blood. People consider this raid a bit harder than the first one, and it brought a brand new, super expensive melee weapon, the Scythe of Vitur. There was a cool max cash glitch, which caused the servers to be rolled back again. And sadly this year, RuneScape Classic would be closed forever. Rest in peace, Fun Orb, and most importantly, Arcanist. I miss that game, man. Come on. What? Somebody's bring it back, man. RuneScape's most popular rat, Mod Jed, got fired. The warding skill was almost released, and at the end of this year, the old school RuneScape mobile app officially launched. Because of this, old school RuneScape's player count is now 4 times more than RuneScape 3. Oh my god. It's 2019. Starting off in RuneScape 3, the mining and smithing skill got a much needed rework. Over in old school RuneScape, the Kebos Lowlands in Zaya got a much needed expansion, bringing an all new Slayer Master with brimstone keys. You can open up a chest and get some great loot, as well as a brand new boss, which requires very high Slayer, the Alchemical Hydra. The Kebos Lowlands also received the Farming Guild at this time. These updates would of course bring another game-breaking bug to RuneScape. The 3rd ever rollback in RuneScape would occur when the 5th most valuable item in the game, the Twisted Bow, would spawn on a tile right next to the Farming Guild. You can now get Lairn's keys from the Wilderness Slayer Master tasks. On the 4th of July 2019, the Forthos dungeon was released, as well as a new boss, Seracnus. Soon after, one of the hardest quests in the game, the Song of the Elves, was released, as well as the Land of Prifddinas. RuneScape Fortnite got a rework, and the Fremennik Exiles quest got released as well. Jagex would announce a brand new game mode where you play as an Iron Man with area restrictions with some super overpowered relics. It's pretty twisted, and it's a league. Popular RuneScape YouTuber Rendy would expose a duplication glitch. Come on, Jagex. We're still dealing with this. It's now the year of the jab, and in old school RuneScape, the Nightmare was released, as well as the hit splats being slightly changed so players could better recognize their own hits. In RuneScape 3, another new skill came out, being Archaeology. This year, Jagex would be sold off for over $500 million to MacArthur Fortune Company. Over in old school RuneScape, a new quest, Sins of the Father, brought a new land, being Darkmire. And with it, the 4th ever server rollback came because players would report their items disappearing because of a glitch. And in old school RuneScape on July 16th, the Ferox Enclave was released in the Wilderness. This was a safe place in the middle of the Wildy, and Clan Wars, Castle Wars, and Last Man Standing would be moved here, as well as the brand new Death's Domain, a place where your items go upon death. With this update also came gravestones. 20 years of RuneScape. The game has come so far, and to celebrate, there is a throwback event and some new merch. In old school RuneScape, Soul Wars was added, and the Isle of Souls was expanded. Last Man Standing got some updates, and you can now play RuneScape on Steam. You thought 1 Jad was hard enough? Try 6. In March, Shooting Stars fell from the sky, and fishing boss Temperos was released. A whole new clans system came to old school RuneScape as well. In June of this year, a Zaya-based quest, A Kingdom Divided, brought a brand new spellbook to the game. The Nightmare got harder with Fasoni's Nightmare. Next month, things would get very sweaty with the combat achievement system and new Slayer helmet upgrades. Whoa, it's Deadman Reborn. This year, the long-awaited Group Iron Man mode officially released. Flippers were too overpowered, so Jagex put in a Grand Exchange tax. Over in RuneScape 3 this year, you can now play on mobile, and a new quest brings the city of Sentistin? Player-drawn and voted activity pets were introduced to the game. Elder God Wars Dungeon? And the first scaling boss is here, and so is Zuck. Enter 2022. In old school RuneScape, Nex has finally arrived. Grind her for 2 weeks, then play the new League's 3 Shattered Relics game mode. The first ever Revenant boss can now spawn in the Revenant Caves. Be careful. Group Iron Man improvements and unranked Group Iron Man. Rest in peace, the Duel Arena. Say hello to the PvP Arena. Old school RuneScape gets a runecrafting minigame, Guardians of the Rift. A new engaging way to train this horrible skill. There's a cool new way to train smithing with the Giant's Foundry minigame. It's June and it's time for the controversial Pride event. An activity advisor is added for new players. Your max hit now has a different hit splat color. There's Pure and Zerker modes in RuneScape Fortnite. And the biggest update of the year was Tombs of a Masket, the third ever raids in old school RuneScape. Introducing the Tumikin Shadow, the best in slot mage weapon. At the end of this year, Quest Speedrunning Worlds launched and Fresh Start Worlds released. Fresh Start Worlds lasted 6 months, and all progress would be transferred over to the main game at the end of the 6-month period. Over there on RuneScape 3 2022, this year a bunch of new dungeons and quests and monsters are introduced. The Wilderness gets a huge revamp, a new threat system, and high-risk Slayer XP gains. PvP is now optional in the Wilderness. And Master Max Capes release for the sweaty nerds with 120 in every skill. Oh dang, it's already this year? In old school RuneScape, the Karasi is back, being renamed to the Voidwaker. Wilderness bosses were reworked and have new layers, and smaller, weaker versions of themselves. This year marks the 10th anniversary of old school RuneScape. Woo! Bounty Hunter is back again, this time better than ever, hopefully. Desert Treasure 2 is announced, and there's a rewards beta. Combat achievements are point-based now, more pride, and a new way to cut wood. Hey, Deadman Apocalypse is here. And Desert Treasure 2 is officially released. There's no new prayers, but a bunch of new bosses are in the game, and they have awakened versions, which are very, 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 very hard. People got angry when mining became AFKable, and Forestry Part 2 released. RuneScape 3 got another new skill, Necromancy, and along with it a bunch of new quests, monsters, and things to do. And that's it. That's RuneScape. What a game. At the time of making this video, Leagues 4 has just been released, and 2024 is shaping up to be one of the most significant years of old school RuneScape. Jagex has pulled new skills, and it looks like sailing will finally be in the game. We'll see how that goes. Jagex, please don't screw it up. We don't want another old school RuneScape version. Come on now, Jagex. Whether you play RuneScape 3 or old school RuneScape, we are all scapers. Words cannot describe how much this game means to me and millions of other people around the world. I am a firm believer in the fact that RuneScape will never ever die. I have been playing since I was a little kid, and I hope to see all of y'all in the RuneScape retirement homes. Thanks for watching.